Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Rimshots with Sean right here in the Rock Rage Radio Network, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk and Mapex Drums. I got to get Mapex Drums in there. They take care of me. Treat for you here, all the way from the other side of the pond. We've got Jamie, we've got Laura, and I've had a brain meltdown. King Witch, how are you both?
Yeah, we're good, man. We're doing well. We're
Good,
doing
good.
well.
So how you guys? I guess you haven't hit your summer's passed, right? You're into your fall. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, we had a week of sunshine last week or a couple of weeks ago, so that for Scotland, that's probably it. So it's probably rain until winter now.
Yeah, we're in the same boat, man. I don't think we're going to get a
Yeah,
spring. We're going right to the summer.
yeah.
Tell me about King Witch.
Well, like from the beginning, or
Yeah.
Well, we've got our third album coming out at the end of this month on Listenable Records. It's been a few years since our last album, which came out 2020,
2020, yeah.
2020, but it came out in the sort of at the height of the pandemic and COVID and all that shit. So, um, yeah, it's been a few years. There's been a sort of few changes. We split with our old drummer at the end of the touring cycle for the last album. Me and Laura had a wee boy, so it's been a strange, like, busy few years. But
It's
yeah, now the
it's
new
fun-
album's coming out and we're good to
it's
go.
funny because I interviewed a series of people from Australia.
Yeah.
So one of them was Rose Tattoo.
Yeah.
And anyway, they all had the same thing. None of their drummers could get out of Australia to go on tour because they all had criminal records. It was the funniest thing. And then it was guitar players, and now you're bringing it back that it's a drummer issue. I don't know, and I'm a drummer. I don't know what it is. We're good people. I like to think we are. But you have your lineup now. You have your set lineup. You have an album coming out. I hate to do this, but only because I'm trying to take my audience to say, okay, this is who these guys are. This is what they sound like. Give me a comparable to who you guys would sound like if there was another person out there.
I guess if you listen somewhere in between Candlemass and Alice in Chains, you'd probably be somewhere in the right ballpark.
And so it's interesting that you say that, Jamie, because that music, 30 some odd years later, still seems to resonate with people, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that is?
I don't know, man. I like obviously everyone's got a soft spot for the music they grew up with, but a lot of like specifically the sort of 90s stuff like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, like
They've got feels.
they've got feeling, there's so much feeling in the albums,
Sure.
especially a lot of that stuff that came out in the 90s that kind of I feel is missing in modern albums a little, with so much reliance on digital recording and stuff like that. I think like there was a period where like the albums were still heavy and had, relatively modern sound, but
Yeah.
it felt a lot more real. The albums felt more real, and I
They're
think that's
melodic as well.
yeah, yeah,
Heavy and like the
yeah, heavy and
melodic.
melodic.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a perfect balance for that kind of thing.
Okay, and Laura, before we go any further, shout out to your bandmates. Who do we have in the band?
Who do we have in the band? We've got Rory Lee, who's our bass player, and we've got Andy Scott, who's on the drums just now.
Andy Scott.
I guess.
Yeah, you got to give them their shout out, right? You got to, they're important pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both awesome dudes, both very good at what they do.
So this, you were just saying, so this album's coming out. This is your first album since I guess the COVID-ish stuff.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
correct?
So I thought it was the third album, but it's the first album in like almost 5 years, I guess.
So is it safe to say it's a COVID project, even though it's maybe a little longer in
Yeah.
the tooth?
Well, the bare bones of the music, I wrote a lot of that during COVID. But it took a lot longer before we sort of finalized the songs, if you see what I mean. But
Yeah.
yeah, the bare bones of that music
Was there?
was there, and so a lot of that sort of gestated during lockdown when wasn't at work and stuff like that.
Well,
Um,
I love those stories because I'm a musician. I was playing a lot. Obviously, I get hit with what everybody else did. This podcast was started because of COVID, and I mean,
Yeah.
5 years later, I never intended to be a podcast host. It was never a bucket list thing.
yeah.
Happy
mean,
and blessed that's where it is. But I love to hear these stories because, and Laura, maybe you can elaborate. One of our themes was always if somebody kind of sat there and complained about what was going on, life was going to stop for them. And when everything started back up, the people that were trying to do something would be that much further ahead. Did you guys
Yeah.
find that with this project?
I kind of found that we were finding like purposefully trying to find more ways of being creative. Like so you normally would be in the jam room like twice a week or something with each other before COVID happened, but then you couldn't do that. So it's like trying to figure out creative ways to make music when we couldn't all like, be together in the same room. And I think if anything, that was a good thing because it got you like thinking again and like just thinking in different creative ways, which was I don't know, it was good for lots of people
Yeah.
in that way.
So you mentioned, so the two of you have a young one now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How old?
Almost two.
Is that your first?
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Okay. And so and I say I play in a band with my girlfriend and I promote her music and I do, but there's obviously there's a different dynamic. We all know this. We can say this. We're friends now, right? So it's not like talking to a band member differently. You do talk to them differently, but there's a sort of a other sort of realm that you do. How do you guys, I guess, make that work and make it so it doesn't interfere with band business?
I guess for us it's weird, man, because we were in another band before this band together. That's how we met, and that's how we get together. We got together. So we've been together in bands
For a long
and
time.
then as a couple for like a long time, man.
And
You know what I
I
mean?
think we
Like
do. It is separate, sort of, in a way.
in a way, yeah.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's really strange now because my studio is now at home, the studio where we record. So it's like,
Sure.
on one hand, there's no getting away from it, but on the other hand, yeah, we've like it's almost like a that's done now, and the band stuff is over for tonight. I'm going to tidy up the wee man's room or something,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all this stuff. But
Well, and
yeah,
I mean, part of that too is I was asking for myself because I haven't quite figured it out. So maybe you had some things you could impart on me
yeah,
that, you know,
yeah. No, I think it's a balancing act for sure, man.
yeah.
And then having the wee man in the picture that just makes it even more of a balancing act. But
Well, no
it
question.
is what it is. You wouldn't have it any other way.
No question. And I mean, I've always got to be cognizant with me, that my behavior and my moods doesn't affect the rest of the operation. But there's certain things like I don't like to see Michelle carry gear. That's one of the things that I started doing in another band. So it's like, you know what? Some people are like, you're chauvinist. No, I'm chivalrous, and there's a difference. Like, but
Mhm.
little things like that. But again, it's interesting because it's a different dynamic, right? You
yeah,
can't argue outwardly in front of people. You got to keep a professional
Yeah,
yeah,
360
yeah.
level, right?
yeah,
I think it's so
totally.
you don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable about your relationship. So
Right.
it's like trying to make everybody feel like we're all the same, sort of, and not. Yeah, it is kind of strange sometimes.
Mhm. You
So
know
in
what it's
terms
like with
of
the band.
sorry,
You always end up having. Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, like everyone ends up having arguments in a band. When you're on the road and stuff like that,
oh
like
sure,
all the time. Anyway, it's just to try to, yeah, keep it separate.
oh absolutely, and I mean I got to learn to be smarter with that stuff. That's a self-admitted thing. So anyway, um, in terms of your scene and where you can, go to play live, I'm always intrigued because I'll talk to the people in the United States and like Florida, for example, has this monstrous scene where people can play all the time. Other places, not so much. Parts of Canada are not too bad. Where you are, how is it in terms of a live scene?
It's pretty good, man. It's really good. Obviously, I don't know like about Canada and Scotland and across Europe. Loads of venues have just closed, so
Yeah.
like actual quantities of venues and good places to play, I guess, is a little less. We're pretty lucky. Edinburgh and Glasgow do have good venues
Yeah.
for like mid-sized bands. There's a lot of really good venues that are the right size for us to play. Um,
Also, like the UK doesn't actually. I mean, it's like 7 hours from Scotland to London, so London's got a great scene as well. So, like, there's like loads of really cool music venues up and down the country. But the UK in general has got a pretty awesome scene for this kind of music.
Well, and I mean, so Scotland, that whole area is
Mm.
known for all kinds of really cool, diverse music, right? I mean, like, um, so when I was in Dublin, we talked about that before we started recording. I mean, I was a huge Thin Lizzy fan,
Yeah,
and I got to kind of see that, Phil Lynott was actually probably one of the biggest. He was probably bigger than Bono, and
yeah.
anybody that came out of there. Who are some of the, I guess, the players in your area that you would consider, I guess, trying to build your scene or build your scene back up from a local perspective? Is there anybody there that you guys would go, okay, they're with us in this fight, this slog?
Oh, there's a few other really good bands, like that we've been pals with for a long time. Bands like there's a band Dog Tired who are like sort of sludgy modern death metal, but like we've been good friends with them for a long time and played with them a lot. They're a fantastic band.
Iron Altar.
Iron Altar, again sludgy, more sort of modern and technical.
Hammer.
Hammer, they're a newer band, yeah, who are again like loads of the bands we play with would be more like heavier and more like in the extreme vein. But I guess the genre of music we play is quite specific, so it's kind of there's not a huge amount of bands like that.
There's June. They can be they've sort of like got sort of Mastodon vibes. I guess they're doing
They're doing
pretty
really
well.
well now. They're on Metal Blade and touring a lot.
Um,
Yeah, no, there's a lot of good bands that are doing really well. But like, yeah, we're lucky to have kind of good pals and bands around here.
And the name of your label again is?
Listenable. So they're a French label.
Okay.
This is our third album for them. They're really good. So Listenable have been around quite a long time. They had Gojira for the first, whatever, 3 or 4 albums and used to do loads of death metal in the 90s, So they've got a kind of long history with metal and they're just really honest, straight up guys. And it's
yeah,
it's really good working with them.
yeah,
I do a lot of work with labels, and one of the things that obviously that side of the business is a lot different than it used to be, right? But I
Yeah.
mean, if you, I had a conversation with somebody, I guess on the weekend. I think it's actually better because the one component that everybody says is not there anymore, which is the whole cash advances and these things, is actually a good thing because people didn't understand that was just a glorified bank loan. And if you didn't recoup your investment, you didn't get your money back and you would lose your
Yeah.
publishing. And so now you have an opportunity, you're bankrolling a lot more of your own things, but you're not giving up your publishing in order to get your material out there.
Yeah.
yeah,
I guess it depends on everyone's like we've got I guess on one hand we're lucky we've got a fairly old-fashioned deal with Listenable, so we do still get an advance and stuff like that. Um, which I think for us has certainly worked out well in that it's probably allowed us to make albums in the past when we wouldn't have been able to, you know
yeah.
what I mean, or spend time in the studio when we wouldn't have been able to, and help with music videos and stuff like that. Um, we're pretty lucky with that, you know. Um, of course, the big thing is still, their access to sort of like promo and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, no, they've been fantastic, and like, yeah, I'd say like without them, it might have been we probably wouldn't have done
It would have been difficult to get music.
to get the cash flow for
Yeah,
all the bigger tours and stuff like
Sure.
that. Getting the vinyls out and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's worked out really well with them.
So when you guys go out on a tour or a reel of shows, or how have you been doing it? Are you gearing up for something here soon? How's that been going?
Well, in the past, for European runs, we'd usually do, like 2 weeks at a time and stuff like that. But obviously, with the Wee Man, there's going to be a different
it'll be different for a bit.
model now, for a while. So we're just doing the UK dates we've got coming up are just sort of spread out. And I guess for Europe, it'll be sort of
Something similar.
festivals or one-off shows and stuff like that. So that side of things, we're just going to have to take it as it comes.
So obviously an adjustment. Um, do you bring the little fellow along? Does he go out with you guys?
I don't know, man. We're not at the level where touring's that luxurious. I think
Yeah.
2 weeks around Europe in the back of a van might be a bit much for the wee mans just now. So
Well,
we're lucky we've got like loads of family nearby for like short spells, but yeah.
think about how much he would learn, right?
Yeah.
There's the thing today. You see all these YouTube kids and they're on there, they're playing a million miles an hour, but can they take that on the road? I question whether or not they can because something goes sideways, they don't have their parents right there to help them through it,
100%.
right? So
Yeah, man.
We could teach him to do the merch desk.
Yeah, totally. He's
there you
already quite
go.
a keen drummer, so yeah, you never know.
Yeah,
Well, hey, like
yeah.
you need more of that out there, right? So, um,
Totally.
so I guess the album's coming out when?
27th of June.
Okay. So in terms of it's going to be a full release, is that correct?
Yeah.
With a lead off single.
Yeah. So the first single came out last month called Swarming Flies. A
And
second single actually came out today, Sealed
Ah,
Lies. So you can check that out. There's a
timing they
lyric
say is
video out,
everything.
all the streaming and all that. So yeah, that's out today. And yeah, can't wait to get our hands on the vinyl and the CDs and see how the artwork came out.
Well, and hey, it's cool that you guys are doing that because that again is a lost art of, you don't see that much anymore, right?
Yeah.
Are you good in terms of your business affairs and stuff? You handle that yourself? Do you have management? What do you do?
No, we used to have a booking agent who was awesome. He was a really good guy. We still talk to him, but like now, because we're only doing limited touring, we're just handling that ourselves. So yeah, apart from the label, man, we just handle everything ourselves. So we do have some help with social media now, which is great because that shit's just gotten out of control.
I want to throw something at you guys. I want to get
Yeah.
your opinion. You're going to be my first interview that I've asked this of. Yesterday, Michael James, James Michael, former singer of 6 a.m., had I guess it was a spoken word podcast that he put out, and it was basically why I don't like music anymore.
Mhm.
All right.
And the gist of it was that we're not creators anymore. We write songs to the algorithm. We don't write songs to be creative. We don't, we're writing and performing for people that don't give a shit. Pardon my French.
Yeah.
I'd like to get your thoughts on that, Laura. What do you think?
Well, I don't I don't think that we've done that for this album. I think we've written songs that we like, but I do think that social media is a fucking pits
Yeah.
and it really sucks the life out of, like just the fun of music. It's like you're trying to sell yourself or like 24/7 uh doing like I don't know, I just hate that side of it. But I don't think that we've not changed the way we play to try and make it like for algorithms or anything like that. But I do know that some people try and do that.
And you're sort of aware as a band as well that you're probably taking a hit by doing that.
Yeah.
The fact that you're like, well, we're just going to record an album, make the music that we always would have and always wanted to, but because we're not doing a
Short
short
TV.
3 minute songs that they don't have a hook by 30 seconds, so that you're limiting how you can be marketed, I guess, these days. And it sucks, but it's the way it is. And I think, like you were saying, this guy, is right.
He's right, yeah.
If you start changing the way you write music to be for algorithms and that, then
That takes
just fuck it, man. Just, why bother? Like,
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm actually going to probably dissect that a little bit more in my socials and my podcast. It just really hit me because I have so many people that get caught up in that, and they, I did this and they didn't give me a like, or I did that, and I happen to work with a guy who's very good at talking about real numbers and what real numbers are. And just because you might have 1 million followers doesn't mean they all give a crap about what you're doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people forget about that, but the business actually preaches that. But some people in the business don't understand. So it's very frustrating. So thank you for those honest answers. I appreciate it. You were the first to respond with that. Where do I send my fans? Well, your new fans, my folks, my peeps, to find your music and get a hold of your music and that album and all that good stuff?
Okay, so like they can get all their physical stuff from Listenable Records. I guess on Bandcamp, they can listen to it, they can order whatever they want. And obviously, like everyone uses Spotify or Amazon or whatever, you can listen there as well. So the usual outlets will be supplying it, I guess but Bandcamp is amazing. Bandcamp's the best way to support any band or any label, really.
Better on
Um,
our label.
yeah,
Okay.
from Listenable
From
Records or
Listenable,
Bandcamp.
yeah.
Yeah.
And let me see if I get this right. It is 20 after 9 where you guys are right now. Is that right?
Right after 8.
20 after 8. So you're
Yeah.
4 hours ahead. So I thank you for, well, you're not really staying up late. It's a Wednesday night, but you got a youngin', so you're probably going to get. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. That's fine. We'll fix that. I want to thank you both for doing this. And best of luck for all your endeavors over, the next while. And hey, if I can do anything to help you, please reach out.
Nice one, man. Thank you very much.
Trying to chat to us, Sean.
We are back after this.